All right, good morning, everybody. It's 8:30. We'll call this morning's meeting of the Board of Commissioners to order for Tuesday, March 18th. Our first item is the approval of the agenda. Matt, did you have a comment at this time regarding the hearing?
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. I just found out like 5 minutes before this meeting that there was an issue with the noticing of this hearing. So I'm going to request that we pull it from the agenda and rehear it at a later date so we can properly notice.
All right,
Regarding number 2, you're talking.
Regarding number
that's
2.
regarding the public hearing with the Red River Valley Co-op Power petition for rezoning, and with the notification issues, that's not even debatable. That's
No,
something that we're going to, those of you who might be here for that reason, we apologize but apparently there was a glitch in the advertising or something, or the requirements.
mailing, yep.
Okay. All right, so item number 2, or 835 item, will be postponed to
Correct.
a future date, and that will then be re-notified to everybody.
Correct.
All right, very good.
With that, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
A second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as amended. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in oh, excuse me, do we have Jenny, is Commissioner Mojo online? Not yet. Okay, so Commissioner Mojo is in St. Paul right now, and we're anticipating her to join us. If she does that, then any votes that we do will need to be roll call, but seeing how she's not on right now, we don't not need a roll call on this action. So all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. And Jackie, will you let me know if she pops on? Okay, all right. All right. Oh boy, now we don't have bid openings still.
We can move up the highway department. They're sitting in the back.
Oh, it's annual, yeah. Yeah, let's see if they can come out down and do that.
And Mr. Chair, I'm on for number 11. If you wanted to move that one up, I could sure
Oh, okay.
approach that one.
All right.
If the chair wanted to do that. But we still have the rest of the roll call to finish through,
Approve the
or the approval part,
bills and minutes.
bills, vouchers.
Oh, sure, yeah, okay. Yeah, so, I'm gonna wait till Jackie
Citizens
gets,
to heard.
yeah, I'm gonna wait till Jackie gets back now, so. All right, so our next item is citizens to be heard. There are no citizens in the audience to be heard. I'm assuming there's none online.
None online.
All right. And we do have our Assistant County Administrator online with us this morning, it looks like. Karen?
Here, if you can hear me, hopefully.
Yep, we hear you. Thank you. All right, our next
Perfect.
item is the approval of payments and bills and vouchers.
Move for approval of payment.
I will second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. The next item is the approval of minutes from March 4th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from March 4th, 2025.
We have a motion
Second.
and we have a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. Okay, with the changing of our agenda schedule, we are going to move up. Yeah, we can do item 5 and 6, right? So let's start with item 5 then. Justin, you want to come up? Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, so the first item I have is requesting approval to advertise for SAP 14-5002. So this is a local road improvement project. So Holly was successful in getting local road improvement grant to basically grade and pave 15th Street that kind of goes by the cemetery on the west side of Holly. So as we do have to sponsor the project. So the proposed letting date would be April 22nd, 2025. And I'd open them at the board like I normally do.
All right. Yes, Commissioner Bear.
Are you involved in the engineering of that road then, at all, or no?
On a very high level, so we just review it to make sure it meets state aid standards. I don't actually sign any of the plan sheets other than the cover, just saying that it does meet state aid standards.
Do you know if it is a heavy, they're building that as a heavy road?
It's a 10-ton road, yep. That was part of their, when they did apply for local road improvement funds, that was part of their grant application, that they were gonna make it a 10-ton road.
Okay.
All right.
With that, I'll make a motion to approve the advertisement for project on the 15th Avenue in Holly, SAP 014-594-002, with a letting date of April 22nd, 2020.
25th, isn't it? Didn't you say?
22nd.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I heard you wrong, okay. All right, we have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second, any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried, all right, we'll move into the 9:20 item, and that is the annual department update.
All right, so yeah, here's my 2024 Highway Department update. I always start out kind of my update with what the Highway Department's mission statement is. So the main objective of the Clay County Highway Department is the construction and maintenance of county highways and bridges, county state aid highways and bridges, and township roads and bridges. The goal of the Highway Department is to ensure that the roadways and bridge structures in Clay County are designed according to federal and state guidelines, constructed according to contract specifications, and properly maintained to ensure the safety of the traveling public. So this is the Highway Department's organizational chart. So first on the top is the county engineer, then we have an assistant county engineer, and then it's kind of broken into maintenance, shop, engineering, and then the office side. So the maintenance foreman is in charge of 11 motor grader operators. The road foreman is in charge of 11 maintenance workers. The shop foreman has a diesel mechanic that works underneath him. We do have 5 engineering technicians who are supervised by the assistant county engineer. And then in the summertime, depending on construction, we have anywhere from 2 to 4 interns. We usually try to get either construction management students or civil engineering students out of the local schools. We've had really, really good luck with that. In our sign department, we do have a sign foreman, and then one of the 11 maintenance workers basically from the entire year helps out the sign foreman when he's not plowing roads. We do have an office manager and an administrative assistant, and then Ann, our highway accountant, works out of the government center. Any questions on the organizational chart? First thing, maintenance, so kind of what we do. I did keep this picture from last year just to remind everybody that sometimes. This was from a few years ago. So our maintenance side, we have 24 full-time employees. We do provide maintenance on all county gravel and then 27 township gravel roads. Like last week when I brought the township maintenance contract, that incorporates 27 different townships. Each district averages a little over 130 miles. And then kind of some other things that our maintenance side does is snow plowing. Obviously this year hasn't been bad at all. We do have 4 ditch mowers. We do a top cut right around the 4th of July. And then in the fall time, we do a full cut and mow everything that we can. We do as many culvert replacements in-house as we can. We do a lot of patching, a lot of crack filling, and then we do spot gravel when we can as well. On the shop side, we do have 2 employees. One kind of big thing that happened in 2024 is our longtime shop foreman did retire. We were able to replace that position internally, and then we were able to hire a diesel mechanic just a couple months ago. There's 2 employees, shop foreman and diesel mechanic. So we provide fleet maintenance for 12 motor graders, 13 tandem trucks, 5 tractors, 2 payloaders, 25 pickups and SUVs, and multiple other pieces of equipment. We do end up doing a lot of fabrication in-house. Obviously with plowing snow, there's a lot of things that break. We try to fix everything that we can. Shop also helps out with equipment purchasing. This past year, we were able to purchase a new software to help diagnose and troubleshoot breakdowns. So on a lot of the older trucks, we've had a lot of wiring harness issues, and we found that we do have a laptop that we plug in that helps diagnose and shows schematics. In 2024, as shown in the slide, we were able to purchase 2 new plow trucks. We do have 3 Kenworth trucks now, and we've found that since we switched, we've had a lot less issues with those, and we are really happy with the purchases. On the engineering side, we do have 5 technicians and 2 to 4 summertime interns. So this group is in charge of everything when it relates to construction inspection. So when a paving job goes on, you will see a guy taking tickets on the side of the road. That's normally one of our summertime help. There is a bituminous street inspector who's usually following the paver. And then we also have somebody in the asphalt plant as well providing testing. And then bridge construction, they're out there every day. So in the summertime, the engineering techs definitely get a lot of hours, and they're in charge of a lot of different things. And Alex and I also go out to the site as much as we can, obviously not out there full time, but during a paving job, Alex is usually out there every day, and I try to make it out a few times a week. And they're basically in charge of ensuring that everything is done according to plan and spec. And then along with construction inspection, the engineering techs also handle all of the access permits that come in, utility permits, and then they're also the ones who are working on plan design under the inspection of Alex and I. And then our bridge inspection unit is comprised of 2 team leaders and 2 assistant inspectors. In the past, we've only had 1 inspector and a program administrator. So in the last 3 years, I've taken the course, 1 technician has taken the course, and Alex just finished the course 2 weeks ago. It's a 2-week course in the cities that state aid actually pays for. So this county's only in charge of room and board. So it is a really good deal. So kind of what I'm looking in the future to do is to have all of my technicians certified to inspect bridges, so we'll never have a lapse in coverage and never have to go outside for that type of work. Because yeah, the course itself is about $2,000 if we're gonna have to register ourselves. So any questions on the engineering side of things?
One question. You say 335 bridges in the county. Can you explain? I know what a bridge is. Can you explain for if anybody's watching online to explain what a bridge is? 'Cause
Yep.
people wouldn't think we actually have 335.
So a box culvert, if it's over 10 feet, is actually considered a bridge. So that 335 bridges, that also includes the township system. By state statute, we are required to inspect all township bridges. So anything greater than a 10-foot span is considered a bridge.
Diameter?
Width. Yeah.
A 4-foot culvert or width? I mean, the width of it, diameter? Is there?
So like a 48-inch culvert would not be considered a bridge.
Yeah.
Yep.
So where's that line at?
I'd have to look. I don't know off the
big.
top of my head, yeah. Any other questions on the engineering side? And just kind of as a footnote too, we are required by statute to do that, and we don't charge the townships anything. When we do a township bridge design, they are required to pay the first $10,000 in engineering and the first $10,000 in construction. The rest the town bridge fund covers. So usually when we start a township bridge design, township and make sure they're on board. So I don't just slap them with a $20,000 bill. On the administration side, we have 1 registered engineer, 1 assistant engineer, and then 2 front office staff. The front office staff is in charge of moving permits. They do a lot of stuff with dust control. Obviously, they take every phone call that comes in. And then citizens' concerns to our office manager. Usually her and I are copied on the citizen concern, and then we're usually taking care of that form the same day. And then they're also in charge of a lot of different annual permits. county graveling, and then one thing that we've really been stressing the last few years is putting out news flashes when different road closures are happening, load restrictions, all sorts of stuff like that. Sign department, so we do have one full-time sign foreman, and then, as I had mentioned, one full-time maintenance worker that helps in this basically all year if he's not plowing snow. We are in charge of the maintenance of 8,329 signs. That's just on the county system. We do help when we're available if a township calls and asks us to replace one of their signs. If we can fit it in, we definitely do it. One thing that we're gonna be working on, or we have been working on in 2024 and then implementing in 25, is a sign management software to ensure MN MUTCD compliance. So we are implementing a new GIS-based software program to manage our sign inventory. So that's something that we've been working on with Mark and Mandy. We had a program called Simple Signs that's pretty outdated, and I believe it's $1,500 to $2,000 a year. This GIS program is a one-time fee, and then it'll be covered under the county's ESRI license. Sign department also provides traffic control for pavement testing, and then the use of portable message boards for construction, bike marathon, and miscellaneous projects. And then they also handle mailbox repair and road closures. Any questions on the sign department? And one thing of note too, we were able to, a few years ago, we came with a sign purchase where we were going to replace all the blue fire numbers in the county. We are done with that. That was a 4-year process, and we're excited to be done with that. I don't know off the top of my head a lot, though. It was a lot. Our roadway network, so it's made up of both CASA, which is a county state aid highway. So we have 404 miles of CASA, 272 being paved, and 132 being gravel. One kind of thing to note about a CASA is there's definitely a different set of rules than a county road. So in order for a CASA, it's either got to start at a CASA or a trunk highway and end at a CASA or a trunk highway. So I know in the past we've had townships try to get us to take over different roads, and it has been brought up in the past, well, can we add it to the CASA system? And the answer is no, mainly because we don't have any miles in the bank. And then county road system, so there is 337 miles of county road, 16 of them being paved and 321 being gravel. Any question?
Are you calling those a township roads?
No.
So what's the difference between a CASA road and a county road?
So a county road, we're not eligible to use gas tax dollars on. So a county road can be anywhere from, like if you look up by Georgetown, County Road 100, that's a county road. So if we do any sort of repair on it, that has to come out of my budget in a separate line item than what we get from the state.
Okay.
We're only allowed to have so many county stated highway roads, which is
correct.
what CASA is.
Okay, there's only so many of those.
Yeah, there's only, I think the state through MnDOT is the one who determines how many county stated road miles each county can have. And once you reach that limit, you don't get any more unless you do some trading or maybe in a case of where a county has really grown.
Yeah.
Real significantly, you might be able to get miles added, but it's very difficult to do.
Through the needs system, there is each year a few requests for mileage, but it's usually swapping for other things in their county, like turning back a CASA to the city and then turning something else into a CASA.
What percentage of our county system, what percentage are CASA roads? Do you have that?
I don't have that, but just looking up, it's a little over half, because 404 miles of CASA and 337 of county.
Yeah, and in order to qualify as a county stated highway road, it needs to tie in to two other
Yep.
Other CASA roads.
CASA
Or a
roads.
trunk highway.
Or state,
Yep.
or federal.
Yep.
So, yeah. And a lot of our county roads don't do that. So,
Yeah, and then, for example, on the county roads, the maintenance and construction, usually funded through local dollars and at times wheelage tax.
Commissioner Ebinger?
Do we have many CASA roads that are within any of the city limits?
Yep, so we have one right out in front of the courthouse. We have one that ties into Georgetown. We have one through Felton, one through Ulen, one through Hitterdall, one in Barnesville, one in Dilworth, one in Glendon. So basically one through every small city and one through Moorhead as well.
We used to have more in Moorhead, but we did a turnback on
Yep.
some of them.
It wasn't 40th Avenue, one of them, yeah.
Yep, and we made the final payment this year,
Yep.
payable in '24 for that turn back.
All right, thanks, Jay. You can continue.
Some of 2024, so this is kind of shocking number of all. So in 2024, we only had 522 hours. That was 2,096 less hours than 2023. So I did include that picture again too, just to show what it was like a few years ago. We did have 5,014 hours of blading gravel roads between 12 motor graders. We had $293,479.61 of fuel expenditures between motor graders and tandem trucks. We did complete 36 miles of crack filling. We used 3 semi-loads of mastic for patching. The CDL license program that the county board did approve. In '24, we had 1 new employee that utilized the program. In '25, we already have 2 new employees that have utilized it, so it is working, I think working very well. And then we did lose 3 motor grader operators. Total, between the 3 of them, we lost 49 years of experience. So in 2025, it's going to be a big training year. Some construction highlights from '24. So we did complete 11.5 miles of paving, completed 3 township bridge designs. We did a lot of different preliminary surveys for construction. We had 133 bridge inspections. And now we're working on design for '25 and '26 construction projects.
Justin, is there a requirement rotation for inspections?
Yes. So depending on what shape that bridge is in, so when a bridge is first built, it's on a 48-month cycle. And as different elements start to deteriorate, a lot of times it'll go to a 24. And then when they need to be looked at a lot more, then they're on a 12-month cycle.
Okay.
So at a minimum, they're inspected every 4 years.
Okay.
One project highlight from 2024 was SAP 14601-008. So this was a paving project on CASA 1 from CASA 20 to CASA 26. This was regraded in '22 with a box culvert replacement as well. This was a really, really good project that turned out really well. We're happy with the end result.
Justin, that County Road 1, the main project that we did, the road project we did there, have we come to any?
With the CenturyLink stuff, no,
nothing?
we haven't made much progress on that at all.
Is there back and forth communication, or is it just sitting out in the World Wide Web somewhere?
The last that I had worked on it was with MnDOT. They were reviewing some of the documentation I had, and I worked on it with the attorney's office too. I would have to follow up to see if there's anything else we can do.
And just to for Ezra, that project was one that it basically ended up being delayed
Yep.
as
So
a
there was
result of Westlink not.
So there was a
Following
fairly
up with
large
their-
claim on that project, over $100,000, directly because CenturyLink didn't move their line in time.
Yeah. So they didn't move their line, so our whole project ended up being delayed, and we basically lost a year of before we were able to hard surface it.
Yep.
So, well, I hope that
We'll
continues to
follow
move
up with
forward. 'Cause
Brian on it. And
that was an additional expense to our taxpayers that probably didn't need to happen.
Definitely. Another project highlight from '24 was CASA 26. So this was a mill and overlay from Averill to Trunk Highway 75, a little over 9.5 miles. So that we did utilize level 5 asphalt due to the heavy truck traffic and rutting. And this was year 2 of 3 of the CASA 26 mill and overlay project, with the final year coming next year. In 2024, we were able to purchase the old Holly MnDOT shop on the east side of Holly for $276,000. We are fully moved in now. We do have 2 motor graders currently operating out of the new shop. Historical state aid construction allotment, I just kind of use this as an FYI. In 2025, we were up to just under 4.8 million. It is nice to see that number continually rise.
Yes, okay, so Paul first, and
How is that formula, or how is that number from?
I can give you a handout that details, so it's all from the gas tax.
yeah,
But we have handouts that show the exact distribution. And then it's all based on a needs system too, whatever's set aside for CASA. You fill out your needs every year. It's a pretty big formula, but I have a handout that I could give you that details it really well.
a little bit of a past history on that, and that goes back to several years ago. That I was back when I was the chair of the MRCC, which is now the MRC, and there was there was always this ask from the state legislature to increase the gas tax. But it would never get done because there was always, the metro area wanted a complete change in the formula of all gas tax dollars, which would have obviously benefited the metro area. And we said no to that, and there was 17 commissioners assigned to that, and I happened to be one of them. And in that process, then, we ultimately agreed that there would be a change in the formula on any new money, because they made the case for that obviously there's a lot more going on in the metro area. And so, I can't remember how that correlates, but it seems to me, I remember when I first was on the highway committee, I think our annual allotment was closer to 2 million than it was the 2.8 that you see in 2015. And, so that, obviously, that really helped once because then they ended up approving the increase. And now I understand a index where it automatically increases. I don't know how often that is, but it's every year? Okay, yeah. So that number is nice now, and it's good to see. And it's certainly something that's one thing our citizens do expect to have, and that's good roads to drive on, and good, safe roads, so. Yeah, yes.
So is that money can only be used for CASA roads?
Correct.
County CASA roads, okay.
Yep.
That's
Cannot be used on a county road.
regular county.
Yep. Some additional funding that we were awarded in 2024, so we did receive a local road improvement $535,000 and an HSIP award for $750,000 for the roundabout at CASA 12 and 52. Through the District 4 ATP, we did receive a little over $1 million for 2029 for the CASA 10 Millen overlay project, with another expected 1.7 million in 2030. The project would be constructed in 29, just kind of the way the federal fiscal year works. Ends in July, so we'd receive that 2030 money in 2029. And then through the TMA, which is MetroCog, we were awarded 1.1 million for a CASA 3 Millen overlay project that will go from the Beat Plan up to Wall Street in 2027. And then kind of a 2025 look ahead, some things that'll be coming to the board here in the next, this would be a 5-year plan update. As I did mention, we will be implementing that new sign software. We do have quite a bit of pavement testing for future projects, and then as well as future equipment purchases as well. Yes. I do have to go open bids, so I will save the questions for after the bid opening, if that's all right.
All right, you can do that because I do have a couple, so. All right, well, you do that back here? Yep. Okay. All right, Brian, do you want to, should we touch on yours?
We can sure do mine, Mr.
number
Chair.
11?
I did email, because I thought we might have a little bit of time. I emailed Joe. He's here. He could do his update early if
Yeah, let's,
you want to wait.
We might have time to do Joe's after we open those bids, but do you want to just quickly do your number 11?
I absolutely can. Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Good
morning.
I did have a resignation come up somewhat unexpectedly, one of my younger attorneys, and didn't really see it coming, but did resign for a new position. He's an attorney that actually came out of Canada, came and worked and did schooling here to do and practice American law, but he is going to go back up to Canada now. So kind of a unique situation. We've really enjoyed having him. He's a good, young, smart attorney, so we're sorry to see him go. But we do need to fill his position. It is a budgeted position, so we're asking to have authorization to fill.
How long was he with us?
He was only here about, I think we were right about 9 months, 10 months. He was just a little shy of a year.
Okay. Any other questions?
I move we go ahead and approve the motion to fill the Assistant County Attorney's position.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. All right, thank you. Yeah, let's just do a real quick break. I want to give you a little bit more time than we have these bid open. We'll just take a 2-minute break here. All right, we are now back in session, and we will go back to our 9:05 bid opening, and this is the bid opening for SAP 014-634-031. Dustin.
Yes, so this is the mill and overlay project from the east city limits of Ulen to the county line. So if you remember, this was the project that due to low bid, or bids coming in quite a bit under estimate on the other 34 project, this is the one that we moved from 2026 to 2025. So the engineer's estimate for this one is $963,381.80. So we did receive 4 complete bids. So a complete bid meaning they do have a bid bond in the amount of 5%, and they did sign all the applicable documents. So the first bid we received was from Mark Sand and Gravel Company. Their bid was $946,929.09. $946,929.09. The second bid we received was from Knife River Materials. Their bid was $891,048.36. $891,048.36. The third bid we received was from R.J. Zavrel and Sons Incorporated. Their bid was $854,908.89. $854,908.89. And then the final bid we received was from Central Specialties Incorporated. Their bid was $728,374.61. $728,374.61. Guess any, so obviously favorable. On my engineer's estimate, I was still, obviously the bid prices that we saw in the last 34 project were significantly lower than we've seen in a long time. So I did lower this project quite a bit, but still tried to be, I didn't want to be low bid by any means.
So you lowered the estimate based on the previous bids that we just received?
Yep.
Okay.
Not all the way to the mixed price that we did see, but a little bit.
Okay, so if I can add, so the engineer's estimate that you had here of $963,381.80, was that different than the amount that we had originally put in our 5-year plan?
Correct.
And that number was what?
1.1 million.
Okay, so what we currently had in our 5-year plan, it's the 1.1, so that's a savings of close to, yeah,
Almost 400,000.
almost $400,000 versus what our 5-year plan should. in addition to the $1 million that the other one saved.
Yep.
Good,
And
well, that's good news. That's-
Central Specialties was the contractor who won the first bid.
Right.
So I assume that definitely helped them in this one.
Sure, yep.
I guess I don't see any concerns with this, so my recommendation would be to approve low bid. And there is no, with the online bidding, as I've mentioned in the past, like we used to have to approve contingent upon no errors in the bids. The online form doesn't allow for that.
Okay.
You can approve it, low bid contingent upon no errors in the bids, just for, yeah.
Yeah, turn your mic on.
I apologize. I'll make a motion then to approve the low bid contingent upon no errors in the bids for SAP 014-634-031.
That's in the amount of $728,374.61.
Right.
All right, that's a motion.
I will second.
We have a second. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. All right, we'll move on to SP 014-611-055.
Yes, so this is a project on CASA 11, the concrete portion from CASA 18 to CASA 26. So we did receive federal funds to help with this project. So it is a concrete pavement rehab. We'll go through and seal all the joints, diamond grind it, do some panel replacements. Overall, it's just general maintenance of a concrete road, more or less. So our initial engineer's estimate was $1,028,892.10. So we did receive 2 bids for this project. The first bid was from Interstate Improvement Incorporated. Their bid was $1,093,240.45. $1,093,240.45. And then the second bid was from Diamond Surface Incorporated. Their bid was $1,063,772.98. $1,063,772.98. So this one's a little bit, obviously I haven't worked with either of these contractors a lot, but Diamond Surface is really well known around the state. This being a federal project, I don't have any issues with that bid. It's really close to engineer's estimate. Our 5-year plan actually shows 1.1 million, so it came in slightly under that. What I would be looking for is a motion to approve low bid, contingent upon no errors, and then being this is a federal project, that it does get the approval from state aid.
All right.
I will make a motion to approve Diamond Surface Inc. for $1,063,772.98, contingent upon no errors in the bids and approval from state aid.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. And going back to your presentation, I think that concludes all of your stuff, right, Justin?
Yep.
Going back to your presentation, when you're first talking about everything that your staff does, who handles going out and acquiring easements?
The engineering side, so a lot of times depending on the landowner, a lot of times I'm in that conversation, Alex is in that conversation as well.
Okay,
And then typically we have one engineering tech who's also a notary too that comes with.
because that can be time consuming.
That's correct.
Then lastly, my question for you is, we had that conversation about the Comstock project. And I know you had originally had plans for bid letting on that. Did Jason Benson reach out to you?
Yep, so I have a meeting next Monday with Jason Benson, Chris Bockyguard, Peggy Harder, and Buffalo Red River Watershed District.
Okay. And I relayed to them the importance of the communications with Comstock, and that's better coming from them as opposed to you. So
That's correct.
hopefully that all works out, and maybe you can keep us informed as to,
Yeah, so my plan after next Monday's meeting was to send out an email update to the Highway Tracking Committee, just kind of what the meeting comprised of and what came out of it.
very good, all right. Thank you.
Any other questions on the department update?
Thank you, Justin, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks. All right, we have 15 minutes before our next public hearing. Yeah. Who wants to go before the public hearing? All right, Joe, you want to go? Good morning, Joe.
All right. Morning, Mr. Chair, board members. So yes, I'll give my facilities update today. So our mission statement is our mission is to operate, maintain, and preserve the physical assets of Clay County facilities. We provide quality service in an efficient and professional manner in order to create and maintain a clean, safe, and comfortable environment for all staff, clients, citizens here at Clay County. In terms of staff, I have an operations supervisor, one administrative assistant, maintenance techs. We have 7 full-timer and 1 variable hour, 7 full-time custodians, 2 permanent part-time, 14 variable hours. And we have 1 custodial lead and 1 facilities director. So as far as our staff, we're fully staffed and good to go there. So. Just wanted to touch on my team, a couple years structured. I just wanted to the people I work with directly. We have an operations supervisor who is Brian there, and he's directly oversees the custodians and the maintenance. He also does the day-to-day ticketing system when people put in a request for something. He's got a big job in managing the power plant over there, and he does a lot of the project coordination that, you know, in terms of when we've saved the county some money, he's been a big part of how that happened. So I appreciate Brian and his hard work over there. And then we have facility administrative assistant, Betty. She assists me in a lot of day-to-day stuff. She basically keeps the place organized. And she manages the central mailroom and also is kind of the communications of the Family Service Center. So people know to go to her. She usually is the person that puts out all the announcements, and can't say enough about her. She's somebody that keeps me going every day. So, and then we have Jenilyn who is our custodian lead. She directly supports Brian. She's the one that does supervision at night with the custodians and provides a lot of direction, and she's the one that fills in when we're short and kind of just that all around go-to at nighttime. So I appreciate this team and just wanted to highlight them today. So, okay, so currently we have 23 county buildings, facilities, law enforcement, landfill, correctional facility, joint highway facility, courthouse, Barnesville Highway Shop, the Family Service Center, we have highway shop in Glendon, of course the Juvenile Center, highway shop in Felton, power plant, Ulen Highway Shop, Resource Recovery Center, Comstock, Government Center, Georgetown, Highway Shop. We have a couple vacant houses up at the northwest lot, storage facility, DMV, withdrawal management / detox facility, and the highway shop. So we're quite a list going on there. So, and it kind of spreads throughout the county. So, okay, quick update on the Family Service Center. As you know, it's an enterprise fund. We have a projected revenue of just over 1.2 million coming in this year. We get this by charging $13.75 a square foot on the first floor, and then $12.75 a square foot from 2nd through 5th. And so, just a note, you'll be seeing a decrease this year in. We have that proposed plan to move social services down to 4th and public health down to 2nd wings, and those are non-county entities that are leaving. And so you won't see the decrease in the enterprise budget itself, but from non-county dollars coming in, you would see that decrease, so. So just wanted to make you aware of that. Anytime we take over a suite that is occupied by non-county, we obviously lose that outside revenue, but. So, and then as far as the percentage, we're 60% buildings occupied by county and 40 by nonprofit. I think that's starting to change a little bit here now, so, and then we're 100% occupied, and we do have a second and fourth floor fit-up project. Still need to bring that to building committee, got a lot of coming back here, and I should have something to you guys here shortly on that, so. And then we are looking, building committee is definitely diving into a 10-year long-term planning on what to do with the Family Service Center. It's got a lot of a lot of capital needs from now and 2035, so we're starting to take a good look at that and just strategize what's the best way to do it and look at all the options there, so. Questions on the Family Service Center?
Yes,
Yep.
sure.
One question there.
Yep.
The revenue rent is 1.2 million. Do the county offices being rented there pay into that too?
Correct, yes, yep, so like I said, in terms of like me running the enterprise fund, there won't be a decrease, but yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody pays within their budget.
Okay.
Yep, so. Yep. Do you have something, Mr. Chair?
Nope.
Okay,
You, Joe?
all right. All right, just a little fleet update here. A couple years ago, we entered into a lease program. Right now, we have 5 Traverses and 7 Trailblazers, and when I say those fleets, those are the ones that everybody checks out on a daily basis. We do have some other leases underneath some various departments, but it is currently on a 5-year lease plan, and we're into year 2. And what I do know now is we found out that we're averaging about 11,000 miles per year per vehicle, which is, from what my understanding is, Enterprise says that's a really nice number, because each year we pay equity into those cars. We get to keep that equity, and we're on that nice balance of not putting tons of miles on every year, but yet we can build equity. So our first plan was to see what it was in year 3 and try to resell and capture the high value of that. But now knowing we might be better off to take it into year 4 because our miles aren't so high, and we'll build more equity. So process there, though, is I would say during the budgeting process, I'll be working. I plan on wanting to meet with the finance committee again. I think that's where we originally came out of this. We had Enterprise, they presented numbers to us, and I think it's important to know and see if that savings that they promise us is happening or not. So I think we're getting some data now to start to prove that. So so that would be our plan there. And of course, the budgeting, just so you know, the fleet budget is out of the internal service Fund 50 budget. And each department, if they have their own, it's budgeted out of their internal services. So that's a separate deal too there, so.
Joe, on those vehicles, and you say they all average like 11,000 a year.
Yep.
Do we monitor when vehicles are being checked out? Are all vehicles checked out every day? or-
Yes, yeah, usually they're checked out every day, and in fact, now that you asked that, after COVID, we had a real surge, like we felt like, do we add another car or not? That really settled down, and I think we have a good balance there. So it's a nice balance of being able to check one out, but yet the fleets are moving, so I think we've got a nice balance there, and they are getting checked out every day. As a part of Enterprise, we do have a system that tracks all the miles and tracks the oil changes. We got a lot of data on this, so that's why I thought it would be nice, we'll be able to come to the finance committee and really just be able to nail this down and start going out and get some pricing from state bid, see what that is, and we can really nail down, I think the big question is lease versus buy.
Right.
And is this program working? And I think we're getting, I believe it is just by looking at it, but we certainly want to look at the data and work with the committee on that, so. Yep. All right. Risk management. So about a year ago, the county board passed the risk management policy, and that's kind of what part of my position is, to help oversee that as a risk manager. And what we've done is we've been meeting as a group. Our MCIT administrators group meets quarterly. it's proven to be a big benefit. We all have the same needs, I think, and we're all kind of in the same boat there, so that's worked really well. And under that, we usually send out a quarterly assessment about every 4 months to remind department heads, did you buy something? You know, did you just make sure everything's on insurance? It's a reminder, and it usually seems to remind somebody to add something here or there, so it is working. And under that same program, we have our safety committee that we meet quarterly, and also we have a facility safety audit program that's done quarterly as well. So we've established a central record-keeping file that I think has been a benefit to all us, certainly all us management. I guess we just wanted this to be an ongoing policy that helps minimize risk. So questions on the risk management? Okay. All right, capital improvement update. Of course, working directly with the building committee on all this, I rolled out a 2025 preliminary capital plan. Still got some tweaking to do, obviously, there, but going to be meeting with them again shortly here. In fact, as a note, I'll probably be seeing if we can meet in April. I have some stuff to talk about there, but usually we fund these funds out of Fund 19 and 13. Fund 19 is a fund that we put $150,000 away every year, and Fund 13, roughly, we average $50,000 that comes in through taxes. So those are the two that we're using. We did take a bond out a few years back, 3.3 million, just over, and that is expiring in 2029. Our tactic between now and then is to use Fund 19 and 13 to kind of take care of the critical needs in the capital plan as we move along. So tracking all that with the building committee as well. So Family Service Center major capital needs, we know that's a huge, it's its own huge deal, and we're talking about that in the committee. And then I'm hoping to work with the committee and establish more of a capital presentation that I do to the board every year, somewhere around the budgeting time. So it kind of blends in with that, and we have an idea of our needs there. And then we have two projects in 2025, second and fourth floor fit-ups for the Family Service Center. This is that allow social services to move down to fourth, and public health would move down to second. So definitely got some numbers together, and I'm going to be presenting that to the building committee shortly. And then joint highway facility roof project in 2026. I'm working on getting numbers there. That's a shared cost between us, City of Moorhead, and MnDOT. So that's capital improvement. Any questions?
Joe, just the, going to the bond, that $3.38 million. So all of those projects that were originally planned for those have all been expended, correct?
Yes, those are done. The new preliminary plan I rolled out in 2025 was essentially a start over because we finished our capital plan before that. So, and of course we did have the 1.2 million of ARPA that, you know, that you could add to this that the county used to update that. So yeah, that was a nice bond that was taken out, and we took care of some good things there. So, okay. All right, and basically that's about it. Sorry, questions for me on anything?
Any questions?
Only thanks for the good work.
Yes, exactly. So appreciate it, and looks like you got somebody waiting here next, so thank you.
All right, thank you, Joe. We are 3 minutes away from our public hearing, so we'll just allow folks to come in and we will get started. All right, good morning, everybody. It's now 9:33. We will call our next item is now to have a public hearing regarding our Clay County tobacco ordinance, and I am looking for a motion to open the hearing.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Is Commissioner Mojo online? Okay. All right. Seeing no other discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. And just a couple of things. Commissioner Mojo is in St. Paul this morning testifying as we speak on behalf of a couple of important projects for Clay County. So she was hoping that she could be online, but she's not. Obviously, that timing did not work out. Certainly, what we plan on doing here today is to discuss the tobacco ordinance and to take your testimony and feedback regarding that. Ultimately, I think after today's meeting, there will not be any decision being made today. I think we're going to want to wait and digest what we hear today from you folks. And with that being said, also, we do have some time restrictions here, so those of you who want to speak this morning, if you can keep your comments brief. I don't like to have to cut people off, but if we can keep in mind the schedules of everyone. And also, if you have submitted documents, there are several letters that we have received that will be part of the record. Those of you who did do that know that we already have your comments in place. And also, those of you who might be shy in terms of wanting to speak, we certainly will allow you time to submit comments into the public hearing record if you have not done so already, if you would prefer that method over speaking. Oftentimes it's not easy to get up and speak in front of a large group. So with that being said, Jason, do you want to come up and start this off?
Mr. Chair, did you make a motion to open the public hearing?
Yes, we
We
did.
do that? Oh, okay, I missed it, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for allowing us the time to come back. I'm going to be really brief. As you said, we have a lot of people behind me. The one main thing that we asked or put together for you in light of just reconsidering the ordinance, we created this document that should be in your packet that shows kind of a menu of options. We wanted to make sure that we fully addressed exactly what the products were that we were talking about, and kind of break them up between what flavored products we were indeed asking for a restriction on. And it seemed really well to put them in levels of nicotine. You can see very easily that for example, vaping devices have anywhere from 40 to 400 milligrams of nicotine. So to put that in perspective, that's anywhere from 2 packs to 2 cartons or 20 packs of cigarettes that might be in a flavored vaping device. And right now in Minnesota schools, 18% use rate. So that seemed to be the other really important thing to make sure that we addressed. And then when we talk about Zen, we threw that name around a lot. And I just wanted to make sure that we highlighted that we're talking about the flavored versions of these products because there are unflavored nicotine pouches. I know that these are growing very quickly. They're roughly a 10% use rate in Minnesota schools at this point, and they range from 3 to 8 milligrams, so 3 to 8 cigarettes at this point in time. So that's something that I really wanted to highlight. Outside of that, things that could be included haven't been included. Chewing tobacco, flavored cigars, menthol cigarettes, and I just tried to break down by percentages, like how much is being used in the school as far as we see in rates, and then also how much that nicotine is, just so you had something to kind of weigh between as you were thinking about options, because I wanted you to know all of these are options that can be included or not included in the ordinance as you choose to vote. Otherwise, I want to stop and allow you guys to hear from everybody else because you've heard from me enough. So thank you for letting us come and for giving us your audience.
All right. Any questions from board members at this time? All right, so we'll move into our public comment period. And again, if we ask if you would like to speak, to go to the podium and make sure that you state your name. And as I mentioned, if we can keep it somewhat brief, it would be very helpful. So, whoever would like to go first. We have our superintendent, DGF.
Good morning. Shannon Hunstead, Superintendent of Dilworth, Glen, and Felton Public School. Thank you, Chair, for listening to us today or hearing us out. I want to say a special thank you to Jason and all his work he's done in our school system over the last few years. So thank you, Jason, for that. Really appreciate it. Spent a lot of time with my principals recently asking about this very topic. They have already had this year over 40-some instances. They said, you know, are we getting 50% of them? Are we getting 70% of them? They know they're missing a lot. They figure it's about 20% of our high school population and middle school. The shocking thing for them is the number of middle school kids that have done or started this habit. I think Jason's pointed out, and I'll be real brief here too, just so we have more important people than me. The students, I think, is the people we need to hear from. But it's the flavored vapes. It's where they all start. And if you ask any middle school kid, you ask a 9th grader, 10th grader, that's where they start, and then they go on from there. Obviously, Minnesota is struggling with the next level, and that's marijuana. And so that's what they're starting to see in the vapes now. But all these kids, when you talk to them, they tell you flavored vape. And so if 20% of our kids are doing it that we know about, you got to figure there's at least 10 to who knows what percent that we're missing. So anyway, that's what I have. It's significant for us, and it's sad because I have our school leaders chasing kids around for vapes instead of doing their job. And that's frustrating for me. It's frustrating for our community. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Shannon. Good morning.
Good morning. Hello, my name is Michaela Bieland, and I'm a senior at DGF High School. I have come today to ask the county commissioners to please uphold the current tobacco ordinance ending flavored tobacco sales. As a student at DGF High School, I have seen kids vaping in the bathrooms and hiding their vapes up their sleeves in class. Now, recently, I've seen more students take up Zyn because it's easier to hide. I can't even walk down certain hallways because those areas of the school are known for the vapors' hangout spots. The most alarming part, though, is how easy it is for my high school friends to access these products. The rise in teen vaping has reached epidemic levels, with many students starting as young as the middle school age. What starts as a curiosity or peer pressure can quickly turn into an addiction, and by the time students realize they have a problem, it is way too late. This isn't just about making sure teens don't fall into harmful habits. It's about protecting our future. Everyone deserves a future free of addiction, free of health problems caused by tobacco, and free of being targeted by companies that profit from selling harmful products advertised for vulnerable teens like myself. Because as a teen, we're at a critical age where the choices we make now can shape our future. That's why I believe it's important to take a stand now and call for this ban. That's because we want to keep our healthy choices made by us teens. Thank you.
Thank you, Michaela. Good morning, Larry.
I'm Larry Seldrold. I'm a resident of Moorhead, and I was on the city council when Moorhead passed a ban on flavored tobacco. I know there's a retail component to this and a concern. And if you think about how things have evolved when we were growing up, many of you, a gas station was where you got gas, and they had a couple garage bays where you could then get your oil changed and they could fix a motor. Now you don't buy gas at a gas station, you buy gas at a convenience store. And convenience stores are evolving. You know, now Casey says they're famous for pizza. M&H says they're, you know, always had a chicken. And you can see Love's, and you go down to southern United States and see these Buc-ee's. So it's evolving. We don't know what retail is going to be like. So this is not about necessarily retail, about somebody saving a few bucks at their store or earning some money, because retail is always evolving. When I was visiting my daughter in Portland, they're going through the same thing. And a wonderful quote by a health administrator who deals with a lot of school-aged kids. And one student told her, he said, you know, I wouldn't do these products if they weren't flavored, because regular tobacco tastes like yuck. And so what you're doing is you're saving a generation from picking up a bad habit. And it's not about saving a business, because business is always revolving. You don't know what gas is. Gas may be delivered to your house in a truck pretty soon. We don't know that. But anyway, it's about health of a generation coming up. Thank you.
My name is Keith. I'm one of the school counselors at Moorhead High School. I want to talk a little bit about the impact on developing brains and just what we know from research a little bit. So we know that the impact on nicotine on a developing brain without, the prefrontal cortex that's responsible for future planning, decision-making, emotional regulation, focus, things like that, is the last thing to develop in a brain, and it's the part that nicotine affects long-term. So it has a different impact on adolescents than it does on the adult brain. And it, at this point, does not seem to be reversible that we know about. That comes from the National Institute of Health. We also know that from research across the U.S., we've learned a lot over the decades of tobacco sales in the United States, and we've learned some lessons. We know that counties that restrict flavored tobacco sales have lower use rates among adolescents and children. We know that these companies aggressively target and market towards the youth, which cannot legally buy their product, but they do it anyways. So in terms of, locally here, those of us that work with kids, we are seeing, we're starting to see that increase of use of the pouches, and, they're getting better at hiding it, and we do see that it leads to use of THC in the vapes. Our students today are actually taking the Minnesota student survey, so we'll get some more updated information locally here, hopefully, as well as across the state of Minnesota on where those rates are headed, but certainly the decision that you guys make here will have a lasting impact on that.
Thank you.
I'm Jill. I'm a school nurse at Moorhead High School and Career Academy. I had a lot of the same things to say as Keith, so I'll kind of cut to the extra stuff. But just that I've seen firsthand the on our students with irritability, mood fluctuations. It really impacts their ability to be successful learners in the classroom. They're missing valuable class time because they're finding places to hide out and vape at school. And my biggest worry is the long-term effects that we don't even know about yet. So that's where I get really concerned, because our youth isn't capable of making great decisions at this age, and we know that. So if we can prevent this in any way, we're just going to save ourselves a whole lot of time and effort on the other end, trying to figure out how to get these kids to quit after they're addicted. So just please continue to uphold the current ordinance for the safety of our students and our youth. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill.
Thank you, Brandon Lunick with Moorhead Schools as well, and I'm just going to follow up to what Jill and Keith had stated, and we have a lot of similarities to what Shannon has talked about, but just a little bit of information from the 2019 Minnesota Student Survey that some folks have already talked about. 11th grade students reported in that survey their top way of getting these vaping devices is from friends at the shop, and interestingly enough, they also can purchase them on the internet. What's going on at Moorhead High? We believe that number one, it's very difficult to detect, very difficult to enforce because of the way these devices can be concealed. So at the high school, for instance, this year we've had 32 violations. I think that's pretty similar to what Shannon has discussed already. But we also believe that these violations probably aren't a good indicator of how large the problem really is when it comes to vaping. Just yesterday alone, Josh reported to me, and Josh is the high school principal, that at the Career Academy we have vaping detectors in our restrooms, and just yesterday alone those detectors went off 15 times. And like Shannon stated earlier, our administrative team is chasing these kids around, and it's taking time away from them leading their building. And like Shannon stated, that's disheartening because we could be doing a multitude of other things. But in closing here, because I know that we want to keep our comments brief, we do some educating at Moorhead High when talking about vaping, and that's covered in our 10th grade health class. But that alone isn't generally enough. When it comes to doing things and curbing these things, we need to work together on those. So I encourage you to continue working with us, and we'll continue to work with you. And I appreciate having the time today to speak to all of you. And I don't envy the position you're in, but I just again want to thank all of you for your time.
Thank you, Brendan.
Good morning. My name is Grace Halverson. I'm currently a senior at Concordia College, where I serve as student body president. I'm a lifelong resident of Moorhead and a proud Moorhead Spud. I'm here today to voice not only my personal support for the ordinance, but also to voice the support of the Concordia College student government, which represents the nearly 2,000 cobbers. Together, we urge the county commission the current tobacco ordinance ending flavored tobacco sales. When student government learned of the discussion to repeal the ban on the sale of flavored tobacco products, we were immediately concerned. Many of our friends and classmates, along with some members of SGA, have struggled with vaping and nicotine addictions. We've seen firsthand the harmful impacts that vaping in particular can have on people's lives, especially, as others have said today, young people. I've seen classmates who were engaged, dynamic, and even organized start vaping and then start skipping classes, spending hundreds of dollars on vaping products, and losing interest in things that they were previously passionate about. So last week, student government unanimously, I repeat unanimously, passed a resolution supporting the ban and encouraging the county commissioners to uphold it. I'll share some data that we considered during the discussion of the resolution, though I'll admit that debate was minimal because support for this ordinance, as one student put it, should be obvious. The National Institute on Drug Abuse reported that rates of vaping among college students have steadily increased, with some studies reporting that up to a third of college students have vaped within the past 30 days. That's from the University of Michigan and the National Institute of Health. This is intentional on the part of retailers. The 15,000 flavors of tobacco products on the market currently are specifically designed to attract youth and young adults. The only rationale against this ban is economic. I am unwilling, Concordia student government is unwilling, and the elected leaders of our community should be even more unwilling to sacrifice the health and well-being of our youth, young adults, and community as a whole in the interest of tax dollars. That is completely unacceptable. The ban on the sale of flavored tobacco products is a critical public health protection for our community, especially for youth and young adults. It will save lives from the devastating health consequences of smoking and vaping. So Concordia student government, out of profound concern for our friends, classmates, and younger generations, and deeply conscious of the harmful health effects of flavored tobacco products, especially vaping products, of which the full extent of consequences are still unknown, urges the Clay County Board of Commissioners to uphold the current ordinance on flavored tobacco products. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace.
Hello, my name is Daniel Davies. I'm the Vice President of Student Government at Concordia College, and again, we did vote for that ordinance unanimously in student government, but I'm here to talk about more of the personal experience I've had growing up in Moorhead, going to Moorhead High School, and then in my classes at Concordia College. Vaping was something that got picked up a lot in my sophomore year of high school by a lot of my classmates, including a lot of my close friends. It was a group of about 10 of us, all with plans to go to college, slowly, more and more, specifically Juuls at the time, and they would rave on and on about the flavors of the Juul pods, specifically mango pods that were banned. And when the mango pod ban was placed on Juuls nationally, all of them switched. And I think that's really important to note how important the flavors are to the kids these days. Like, as soon as their favorite flavor was banned, they stopped doing that thing. But instead, because of the alternatives, they moved on to different vaping alternatives. And once those didn't have the same kick, like a lot of the superintendents have talked about, they move on to stronger things. My friends started smoking THC cartridges or dab pens, as they're otherwise known. They would do this in school, just outside of school. It began to consume their lives. They would wake up, and although the 10 of us all planned to go to college, about 5 of us went, and 2 of them graduated. It had a really, really profound impact on me personally, watching my friends kind of succumb to that. And it's been hard to see. And the fact that we're having a debate on whether or not these should be banned or not, with the severe public health implications, is saddening to me. In college, I've seen a lot more Zins nowadays. Essentially, if you don't know what they are, they're like snooze pouches. But kids now, in class, will just crack them open because they're so easy to hide and pack one in any of their lips. And they'll do this repeatedly, thinking that no one's noticing. It's distracting to students in class. Teachers notice it and get sad. But again, it's a nicotine addiction, and they're using flavored products to continue to further this. I know there is the economic discussion that's being held, but I think if we're going to look at some inconsequential tax dollars that are generated from the sale of exploited children, I think we should instead lean into other economic opportunities that we have as a county. Looking at plant like the DG Fuels plant that's coming in, the Dilworth Rail District that's being built up, and the downtown Moorhead redevelopment. These are all projects that not only help our community, but bring in substantially more tax dollars. To repeal this ban at the effect of increasing a small amount of tax dollars that's rather inconsequential when looking at the larger picture at the expense of children's health seems irresponsible, and a lack of civic duty would be demonstrated there. I really urge you to uphold this ban and protect the youth of Moorhead High, and not to let our students and schools end up like my friends did. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. I just want to point out, I've heard the word repeal a couple of times here today, and I don't know that it's in this board's interest in repealing an ordinance. I think what we're doing here today is, this is the second hearing we're having on this to determine if it should be modified. That's far different than repealing. So just understand, I think that's what we're considering here today, is do we want to amend or modify the ordinance? So I use caution when I hear the word repeal, because I don't think it's the intention of this board to totally repeal it. I'm speaking on behalf of, I think, enough of our board members who wouldn't do that.
To that end, I would urge you to not modify the ordinance.
Very good. I kind of assumed that would be right.
Hi there. My name's Crystal Jansen, and I am one of the juvenile probation agents here in Clay County. I cover all of the schools in the county, and I would say that the #1 violation that we're seeing is actually kids vaping and missing class because they're sitting in the bathroom and vaping all day, or would rather not be at school. So that is a huge issue that I am seeing with the kids on probation in this county. And I would like to urge too that I've seen a few kids that I supervise who report that they started vaping as young as 10 years old. And many of these kids get the products however they can, if it's from the local gas stations, their parents, however they're getting it. So I think whatever ways we can reduce the amount of vapes that kids can get their hands on, I think it would be the most beneficial for everyone in this community. But thank you for letting me speak and taking the time to hear me out.
Thank you, Crystal.
My name is Alexander Hagan, and I'm a junior at Moorhead High School. I've come here today to ask the county commissioners to please uphold the current tobacco ordinance ending flavored tobacco sales. As a student, I have witnessed varying bodies of students get into physically violent situations because of disagreements and the allowance of others to borrow their vape products. I've personally seen these situations within all 4 grades at the high school, and with it being the underclassmen that are getting into these situations more often than the upperclassmen. As I've noticed within my usual school day, this is only getting worse, and it's not much better since it's getting videoed and further escalating online. Another major issue that I've witnessed online is that the fact that students are selling flavored vape products to each other on an online market through social media, trying to make a profit off others' addiction. Other students have asked me if I had a vape that I could let them borrow. This most often happens in the bathroom areas, as Keith and the other employees of the Moorhead School District have previously talked about. And this is also happening through social media of people directly asking for their addiction. Again, I'm asking the county commissioners to please uphold the current tobacco ordinance ending flavored tobacco sales.
Thank you, Alexander.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Sarah Dixon Hackey, and I'm the Clay County Public Health Community Outreach Liaison, and I'm also a college instructor in my other life. So today, I just wanted to share a couple of experiences. In my roles in the community, I've had the privilege of working with a number of families and individuals in our county. Through, I would say, many of these meaningful interactions, I've had numerous stories of parents who are concerned about their children's exposure to tobacco, and others who are desperately seeking to help their children quit. In one particular memorable encounter, I had a mother who shared a conversation she had had with her teenage son, asking him point blank how many vape pods he consumed per day. During the conversation, he confessed, sheepishly and admittedly, that he consumed no less than 3, which equivalent to cigarettes would be approximately 123 cigarettes per day. While her son knew that he was harming his health, he also admitted that it was extremely difficult for him to even. In the classroom, I can recall sitting while grading my papers, while listening to students talk, and overhearing one of them share his personal method for studying, as he worked 40+ hours a week and went to school full-time. Because he was so exhausted from his schedule, this is what he would do. Before studying, he would slam, one after another, 2 Red Bulls. Then, because he was so amped up, he would vape for at least an hour or two to bring him down, because his ADHD was kicking so hard. Although his classmates were marveled and a little bit concerned about his process, they also enthusiastically discussed the different flavors they hoped to try, including things like I Love Donuts or Mother's Milk and Cookies. The truth is, there's a lot more stories that I've heard about these kinds of circumstances that are paralleled with both kids and young adults who started vaping for fun, but eventually found themselves easily and quickly tethered to a product that gradually degraded both their health and their overall vitality. While I do believe strongly in each citizen's right to choose their paths, to have the independence and the freedoms that we are all fortunate to be provided, I also value the character and heart of our community, which is that we take care of our own. We look out for one another, and we protect each other from external entities that don't have our best interests at heart. So today, Commissioners, I hope that you will see in upholding the end of selling flavored tobacco is not only an action to remove access to a harmful substance, but also a means to sheltering individuals and families from yet another attempt by the tobacco industry to harm the health and the future of our community.
Thank you.
Chairman Campbell, members of the board, good morning. I'm Becky Anderson. I'm a retired registered respiratory therapist working at Sanford Health, where I serve the people of Clay County and was the organizational expert on tobacco prevention and control policy. I'm here to ask that you uphold your current ordinance ending flavored tobacco sales. Although I've visited with you before, I'm going to share new information today. One of the arguments that I hear the most against tobacco policy is messaging that was developed by and promulgated by Big Tobacco, and that is that the decision to use tobacco is about freedom of choice and personal responsibility. However, those fall flat when we realize that up to nearly 90% of tobacco users become addicted by the age of 18. This is not a conversation about adults, and I know of no other addiction where we talk about the freedom of choice and personal responsibility of our children to become addicted to a product. We don't have those conversations. You see, Big Tobacco's main focus is addicting our children to their products. They use pervasive and deceptive marketing. They spend approximately $1 million per hour in youth-focused media releases. Our children are targeted. Why don't they target adults? Because if the brain isn't addicted to nicotine by the time somebody's brain has quit developing, they most likely will not become addicted to nicotine and will not use tobacco products. This is about addiction of our children, pure and simple. Big Tobacco also offers price discounts, uses QR codes for direct contact. You better know that our children understand big tech and how they can use technology to get to these products. The industry, the tobacco industry, is constantly developing new products that target our youth, such as the Zyn pouches that have been talked about today. And all of this works. Again, 90% of tobacco users addicted by the age of 18. But why is that? Well, it's not by chance. It's science. And some of that science has been explained to you. Because the brain is still developing, even small doses of nicotine exposure in adolescence causes changes in brain circuit development, harming parts of the brain. These changes also make it easier for kids to become addicted, not only to nicotine, but to other addictive substances, and to suffer stronger cravings, making it harder to quit tobacco across their lifetime. Without flavors, tobacco products are no longer a strong enticement to our youth. Again, I ask you to please uphold your current ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Becky.
Good morning. My name is Kani Adam, and I am a community leader. And father, I have contributed the population of our community by raising 7 children here in Moorhead. Today, I am here to ask commissioners, please uphold the current tobacco ordinance ending flavored tobacco sales. As a community leader, I have a responsibility to respond to the impact of tobacco and vaping product young people, particularly here in our community, is critical. The challenge such as school dropouts, family issues, and the toll on the Black students are very highlighted, incredibly serious. It's evidence that flavored vaping product is especially attractive to the youth, increasing difficulty in vaping, nicotine addiction, and other related health risks. So dear commissioners, it's today that we need your help. So please, we appeal to you to act in protecting the future of our children. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Matur Alir. I work here for the Community Connect Center, and I used to work in Moorhead Public School for 5 years. It's where I got to know Jason. We had coordinate some educational effort to try to keep the flavored tobacco out of the hand of our children. I have seen as young as 5-year-old with vaping stuff and more at schools. So I'm here to ask you to uphold the current ordinance if you can. And I don't see a benefit of it than harming our own next taxpayers in our community. So if you want to find another way to kind of make revenues, I think you should also increase taxes for more population. I don't live here, but I live across the state. So to that, thank you.
Well, that's a new one.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Michelle Draxton, and I am here this morning wearing 3 hats. One is a public health professional with nearly 15 years of experience. 2 is the health promotion coordinator at Concordia College. and 3 as a resident of Clay County who is also the mother of 3 young children. I'm here this morning to ask the commissioners to please uphold the current tobacco ordinance ending flavored tobacco sales. The pillars of public health are prevent, promote, and protect. The current flavor ban upholds these pillars by preventing the sale and accessibility of these harmful products, by promoting countywide health initiatives, and by protecting our children from lifelong damage and addiction. Not maintaining the ordinance will clearly go against and crumble the pillars of public health. As a health promotion coordinator at Concordia College, I have the privilege to enable students to improve their health and well-being and empower them to take control of their health. This includes being tobacco-free. Concordia College campus is a tobacco-free campus. We provide a supportive on-campus environment that promotes this healthy lifestyle, and fortunately, the city of Moorhead, with their flavored tobacco ban, helps to extend the supportive environment. Upholding the current ordinance extends the environmental support beyond our campus and beyond our city. You've listened to Concordia's SGA students this morning, so I can preach from a staff perspective, but you also heard it straight from students. And to address the rebuttal that these products can just be bought in Cass County, I encourage you to be a leader. Maintain the ordinance. Reach out to Cass County commissioners, Fargo City commissioners. Encourage them to do the same. We're a community. There are 0 health benefits to using tobacco products, and in fact, as we've heard many times over, they are incredibly detrimental, especially to our young kids. These products are strategically marketed to youth, as again, you are aware, so this is not new news. Yet here we are, asking you to keep an ordinance that protects kids. I wonder if revenue, tax dollars, and money were not part of the equation, if we'd be asking the same question. You'll have to ask yourself if revenue and dollars are more important. Upholding the ordinance is a clear message to your constituents that you prioritize people over profit, children over money. Please consider maintaining this ordinance, which I believe is in the best interest of Clay County and our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle?
My name is Steve Lockway. I'm head football coach at MSUM. Not to be redundant on anything, to try and cut to new information here. My brother-in-law is a school administrator in North Dakota. He had a case recently where he's got an in-school suspension of a girl in high school for vaping. While she's in in-school suspension, she goes to the bathroom in the staff bathroom and is caught vaping in there afterwards as the smell comes out. This is not a 14-year-old girl that's a rebel, that's acting out. This is a 14-year-old girl that's in school suspension, and she's addicted. She's trying to find a way to get to the next hit. Parenting is tough. I've got 8 kids. Anybody that's a parent knows it's difficult. I urge you guys to help the kids in the community. That 14-year-old's a good kid. Our kids are good kids. The kids of this county are good kids. Help us as parents protect them. Our job is tough. Help make it easier. Urge you to not make any amendments, but to help our youth. And I think that ultimately is why all of you guys are sitting here in public service, for the greater good. And I ask that you remember why you're here, and that's what it's about. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Good morning. My name is Garrett Larson. I'm the head track and field coach at Concordia College. I'm asking the County Commission to vote to continue the current tobacco ordinances ending flavored tobacco sales. For a minute, I'd like us all to think back to when you were a teenager. How many firsts you experienced in those years? The first time driving, the first time you maybe got to start in a game, or the first time you asked somebody on a date. You might also recall the first time you tried alcohol, or in many cases, a tobacco product. One thing we can all relate to is that how much easier it is to do these first, the second time, and the third time, and on and on. I'm out in the community quite a bit, recruiting and just out socially. I witnessed teen vaping basically everywhere teens congregate. Most recently, I was at the movie Wicked in Fargo and stepped out to use the bathroom mid-movie, and coming back in, noticed 2 teens in the top row vaping. I see it at Vikings game. I won't buy a ticket in the upper rows anymore because that's vaping central for teens at the games. And I've also noted teens vaping when I'm out recruiting, most recently at Moorhead, at Dilworth, and at Perham. It's not uncommon to see a teenager in a coat put their sleeve to their mouth and then lift their jacket up and blow a vape into their jacket, trying to conceal what's going on. I'm asking that you make first times easier by allowing flavored tobacco products. I'm asking what risk of addiction is our community enabling if we make a change? Thank you.
Thank you, Garrett. Anyone else care to speak? Anyone else care to speak? Do we have anyone online that would? I noticed we did have somebody join us.
Yeah, I think Sarah had added someone, but she said that they did not want to testify, but just listen in.
Okay, all right, very good. All right. Any comments? Commissioner Ebinger.
Yeah, and this is going to sound cliche, but you know, we all have our little worlds we live in here as commissioners, and we have our viewpoints, and we have a tendency sometimes to dig in. What you've done today is valuable. We need to hear from the people we serve. We need to understand where the problems are, and we need to address them as best we can. When Frank Rose was here before, he said this isn't going to solve it, but we need to do what we can. I've been in this community for a number of years, and part of it was as police chief when we were selling things in Minnesota that would make our young people felons when they walk across the bridge with it. Synthetic marijuana, drug paraphernalia. I had a father of a young man who had some psychological issues and was on probation over in the Fargo system, and he found a number of these products in his son's bedroom. And he called me up and said, "What are you going to do about it?" And I'd say, "Well, it's legal to sell those here." He said, "I didn't ask you that. I asked you, what are you going to do about it?" And we did what we could do. And we enforced the state laws when they passed them, and we passed an ordinance on drug paraphernalia. Did it end the problem? Obviously not. But we did what we can do. And to know that the people that we serve expect this of us, I am grateful for you coming here and taking your time to come in and tell us. And many of you very articulate. And to the young people here from the colleges and high schools, thank you. It restores a lot of the faith we need to have in the next generation coming up behind us. Thanks.
Any other comments? Commissioner Grabenoft.
Thank you, David. I appreciate your comments. I too want to thank you very much for coming in today and giving your feedback for us. I take it to heart. I'm very proud of you, and hopefully we'll be making a good decision for you as we move ahead.
All right. Commissioner Bear.
I'd just like to thank everybody for coming in. Very informational. Thank you.
Yeah, I also want to thank you all for coming here today. As we get ready to close this hearing, as I mentioned before the start of this hearing, it's going to be my hope is the chair that we schedule our conversation on this. I'm going to be gone next week, so I certainly don't want it to happen then. And right now, the current ordinance that we have direction in it that basically has a June deadline, right? Isn't that correct, Jason? And so we certainly have time in this process. And looking at the calendar, I believe that our first meeting in April also has a lot on it already. So I'm probably going to be looking for further discussion on this by the board, and it's going to be my recommendation that we would have that on April 8th, which would be another Tuesday morning. But that's up to this board to decide when we conclude this morning, but that's going to be my intent, is to have that as an agenda item for further discussion. I can't promise that any action will be done either way after that meeting, but that's when we would probably have more discussion on this. And it allows all of us time, and I think is very important as commissioners, to take all of not only the testimony that you've presented today, but other testimony as well into this matter. So I don't have anything else. Does any other? Yes.
One question, this would be to Brian. Would we close the public hearing if we're going to take in more testimony, or would we keep it open until a further date?
Mr., if I can, so my thought on it is testimony will end today, and we will close the public hearing today. We did mention that, we can still accept written comments moving forward. But in terms of I don't know that there's any more, unless there's more information that you as commissioners need to have that we would want to submit during the public process. Then we could just recess this public hearing to a later date. But I don't know that we're going to get any additional information that we don't already have. Commissioner Ebinger.
Yeah, we're going to have subsequent meetings before we take this on as an issue, and there's always citizens to be heard at the start of those meetings where it's not on the agenda.
But, and again, one thing, when we go to a dialogue here after this is done, we take into consideration all of the information that's provided within the record. That's kind of how the government process works. And as I mentioned today, we can still have time to receive written documents. They can be outside, and like Commissioner Ebinger just said, on April 8th, somebody could come and talk under citizens' comments. Or because it's an agenda item, we could open it up to further conversation. But at that point in time, it's going to be probably more discussion amongst board members in terms of this is really in depth, this ordinance, and what Jason has done in preparing the language for this it's a lot to digest. And so with that, I think the intent would be that we should be able to close this hearing today.
And I think to Commissioner Bears, you obviously have the ability to leave it open and suspend it if you chose to, but I would recommend to you, this is your public hearing to gain that access, hear from the public, close it, and then allow for your discussion. So, I think that would be the regular course of business, and probably.
And with that, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. And any further discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. The public hearing is now closed. Once again, thank you all for coming this morning, and I can't guarantee it, but I'm assuming I'm going to try to have our discussion on this to start with the board on this ordinance discussion on April 8th. All right, thank you. Thank you, Jason. Okay, we'll take that into consideration, but I don't want it any earlier than April 8th, so, all right. Okay. Yep, thanks. All right, our next item will be our assessor's update. Are you ready to go? Good morning, Jill.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. I thought I'd start today with just a description of who we are as a staff at the Assessor Department. First,
With the outside noise, can you bring it just
Closer?
a little closer? Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Every county in the state of Minnesota must have a county assessor. And so thank you to this board for reappointing me to another 4-year term that took effect January 1st. So I'm here for at least 4 years. So
And we're glad you're here.
hope to be here longer than 4 years. I am Jill Murray, and my
Just-
license is a senior accredited Minnesota
Oh,
assessor.
just one second, Joe.
Commissioner Mojo is on.
Okay, all right, just for the record, Commissioner Mojo is now online, all right? Okay, go ahead, Joe.
All right. Our office has 3 deputy appraisers. Greg Kradowski is an accredited Minnesota assessor license holder. He's had 15 years in June with the Clay County Assessor Department. And he also is contracted as a local assessor with Hawley Township. We also have another appraiser, Lisa Kunze. She is also an AMA license holder, 22 years as a Clay County employee, 9 years with the Assessor Department. And newest employee is Amanda Nelson. She is still under a trainee license, 5 years as a Clay County employee, 9 months with the Assessor Department. She just has one more week-long class to take, and in June she'll have her year of experience and can get her certified Minnesota assessor license. Also on staff is Assessor Associate Tracy Bedford. She has a certified assessor technician certification, and she has been with our department for 22 years. The 3 appraisers and I are members of the Minnesota Association of Assessing Officers, also known as MAO. One of the primary purposes of the association is working with the State Board of Assessors and the Department of Revenue to offer licensing and continuing education courses. Greg, Lisa, and I, as AMA and SAMA holders, we need 60 hours of continuing education in a 4-year cycle. Amanda at the CMA level will need 50 hours in a 4-year cycle, and her 4-week-long classes that she's taken, she will automatically reach that threshold for this cycle. Tracy is a member of the Minnesota Association of Assessment Personnel, also known as MAP. That supports continuing education for technicians and program administrators, and she will need 40 hours of continuing education. So what I'm getting at is that's a large part of our budget, is the continuing education. It's important we continue to grow in knowledge, keep up with property tax law changes, equalize how we administer the programs, both in Clay County and as assessors around the state. Another actual division of our department is the local assessor at the city of Moorhead. It's a staff of 5 licensed assessors led by Nathan Ockrey, who's the city assessor and holds a SAMA license. One example of how well that Nathan and I work together, our CAMA software vendor right now is holding a 2-day commercial valuation class, and we talked them into holding it up here in Moorhead at the Yumcomp Center, and that's going to save us both at least $2,000 a piece on travel by holding it up here in northern Minnesota, make everybody come to us. As of our last Department of Revenue review in 2024, the total parcel count for Clay County is 30,701 parcels. And of that, the city assessor offices manages 15,205. Assessor duties. I talk a lot about valuation classification, our quintile work, and our ratio study that we do. But a few other duties, we do have a lot of programs that we administer. Primary for Clay County is homestead exclusion, ag homestead, special ag homestead, and homestead exclusion for veterans with disability. We do a lot of work with the sales. There's input that we have to implement, classifications, valuation data. We have to do a lot of sales verification with phone calls, with research. and weeding out those that are not arm's length transactions. And then each of those documents gets submitted to the Department of Revenue.
Yes, yes. Commissioner Bear?
I have a question. When it comes to the homestead exclusion for veterans and with disabilities, do they fill out a piece of paperwork to notify you that they're looking for that? Just like a
Yes.
credit?
They have, well, first they have to have regular owner-occupied homestead exclusion, and then they have to apply for this program and bring in copies of their eligibility forms from the VA. And we work closely with Kurt as the VSO officer. He annually, if they're working with him, then he has permission to access their records, can verify annually that they meet that threshold. One program is for 70 to 100% disability, and one is for permanent 100% disability. We have almost 500 people on the program just in Clay County.
Countywide?
Yep. About 200 in Clay County, outer Clay County, and I think it's almost 300 in the city of Moorhead.
So you also oversee the city of Moorhead, correct?
Yes.
They have their own assessors?
Yep, they're city staff, but their work, I oversee it. They're exempt applications. I have to sign off on them. So we work well together. It's very little that I have to look over their shoulder, but ultimately their ratios come on.
So you have the only credentials. So Moorhead has to have you sign off for that reason, right?
Right. They are not a city large enough to be a city of first class. So in property tax law, they are a local assessor under us. Whereas city of Minneapolis is considered a city of first class, and they are their own standalone jurisdiction.
So another question. With the 4 staff, so they're just doing the greater Clay County then, correct?
Right.
And then Moorhead takes care of Moorhead?
Right.
Okay.
But we do everything outside of city limits of Moorhead. So we do Moorhead Township, all the small cities.
Yeah,
county.
okay.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, and then my department is also part of land records. And so we work closely with the auditor treasurer, the recorder, planning and zoning, and the GIS departments with building permits, parcel splits and combinations, and new subdivisions and plats. We review all of that, and there's quite a bit of time and effort that goes into editing and maintaining that parcel data. Sales ratio study, you've heard me talk about this a lot, so I won't spend a lot of time on it. The current 2025 study uses sales from October of 23 through September of 24. Notice evaluation statements are being mailed out on the 28th. I'm just hopefully signing off on proofs today. And then boards of appeal for local boards are the 17th through the 23rd. Open book appeals can come directly to my office, and then I'll see you all here Tuesday, June 17th for County Board of Appeal.
And for those to come on for the county, they would have had to have gone through the other processes?
Most of our jurisdictions are open book, so they can come directly to County Board of Appeal.
Oh, okay.
But there's 5 jurisdictions that must go to the local board first.
Okay.
The 2025 quintile area that we just finished work on is Alliance, Barnesville, Humboldt, Riverton, Scree, and Tansum Townships. And then Greg worked in the entire city of Dilworth. So they viewed approximately 3,325 parcels for mass appraisal work, plus I believe it was over 500 building permits. And we also follow from year to year, we track any other new construction that we happen to observe, even without a permit, or if someone starts a project last year and is continuing it to this year, we check it from year to year until completion. As shown on the screen, the preliminary median ratios were quite close to the range of 90 to 105. The end ratios on here are taken from our CAMA system, and they may yet change. I just on Friday submitted our abstract to the Department of Revenue, and I do not have the final reports back yet. So I will be working on a more detailed assessment summary and forwarding that to you all. And if needed, I can certainly schedule a time to come here and present that in better detail too when that's available. Projects in 2025, this summer here and into fall. We continue to work on the soil module. I think we will wrap that up soon, the drawing out of each land category in the GIS, and it's a layer that's placed over the GIS mapping. And then we need our Vanguard CAMA vendor to reprogram that for us, so that'll take a bit of time. And then for the 26 assessment, use crop productivity index for valuation of ag land rather than crop equivalency ratings. Another item that we're working on, this was in progress before I came on board, the Aumentum tax system software used by both the auditor, treasurer, and my office. It's a conversion to a platform, so it's just the same software but a newer version of it. It's now really progressing. Washington County is in beta testing, and Lori and I have attended 20 BPA meetings, business process analysis. So what they're doing is holding meetings, going through all of the different components of the software, looking at pain points and procedures, and looking at or listening to our requests for improvements. And then they will implement all of that into one platform that all 10 counties that are on the Aumentum software will use. I am serving on the steering committee, hoping to move Clay County to implementation later this year rather than next year, as Lori will have elections taking up a lot of her time. And so what we've seen so far, hopefully that's moving smoothly. And then immediately starting in May, staff will get to work on the 2026 assessment. We will be working in Cragness, Moreland, Moorhead, Oakport, Oakport Townships, and then Barnesville City, Glendon City, and Comstock City is on the schedule for this summer.
How are those, how is that determined?
That was determined, I believe Nancy set up the current rotation we have. Some counties do choose to do, like, say, 7 sections of every township and 7 or a fifth of each city, and just found that it's better to equalize a jurisdiction if we just do the entire jurisdiction all at once. So it's a 5-year rotating schedule of a full township or a full city.
So within a 5-year rotation period, everybody's
Yep.
being done?
Yep, we are on schedule and in compliance. And the Department of Revenue audits that every year. We have to run a report. We have to put our inspection dates into the system. And then in May or June, they ask for a list of those that are not within a time period, that are older than that we haven't done within 5 years. And they put it on a report, and then they ask us how we're going to make it up if we have fallen behind, which can happen. I mean, you could have a family member with an emergency or family member with emergency or some other reason that a staff person can't get out and do their appraisal work. So then we have to have a plan for how we would make that up the following year and, again, get into compliance. And with that, I just thank the board for your willingness to hear from our assessor department the reasons why we sometimes have to make unpopular decisions, and you've been open to my requests for change, such as pictometry imagery and updates to our property information website. So thank you.
Thank you, Jill. I think your department is, or what you do is probably one of the most misunderstood processes throughout all county and state government. And it's a difficult job to try to be able to educate that process to everybody. I've been at this for 22 years, and I'm still sometimes confused in that process. And so it's, thank you for your work.
Thank you. The legislature keeps making it more complex.
They do.
It's harder to explain,
Yeah.
harder for us to understand and administer.
Yes, Commissioner Krabanoff.
Would you tell me, I didn't retain it, and I don't quite understand it, so could you go back just real quick? the criteria for value of farmland, and you talked about a two ways of considering value, and you were talking toward a change in 27.
For 26 assessment?
Yeah, is that correct?
Yeah.
And that was from what to what?
From CER, so they're soil ratings.
Yeah.
I can email you information on.
Okay, that'd be great.
Background.
Yeah, I just want to get behind it a little better because I had people talking to me about it.
Yeah.
Then it'd be nice to know what I'm talking about.
No, soil ratings can change by section, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and
Yeah.
the CER was developed by the U of M in the 70s, and it's no longer supported, even though, you know, having a rating of some type to distinguish between differences of land is good, but the crop productivity index is just more modern and used by USDA and FSA.
And then is that a process you just go to the new rule? It's not a process.
Well, we're gonna go, right now, we do a factor multiplier against the crop equivalency rating, and we're going to go to a straight line, like the soil rating is this, and that's always gonna be valued at this cost per
Okay.
acre.
You put a value on the rating.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Right.
We found, I've been checking with our vendor as to what most counties are doing, and that's kind of sometimes simple is better.
Yeah.
Rather than making it more
Right.
complex. with
And
factors
certainly
multipliers.
it has to be found more equitable, I would guess. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All right, anything else for Jill?
Just want to thank you for your patience. You had a long morning here.
It was interesting to hear.
All right, thank you, Jill. All right, with that, do we still have Commissioner Mojo on? Okay, hey, good morning, Commissioner Mojo.
Hi.
Thank you for your work that you've been doing on our behalf in St. Paul. I know you did get on late, and we've completed all of our agenda with the exception of the closed session and our committee reports. We had quite the turnout for our the first public hearing we had this morning was at the last minute canceled because of it was a notification error, so that one will be redone. But we're about to go into closed session, and I believe, I don't know is that Sarah?
The link.
Yeah, that's Sarah. We have a separate closed session
Okay.
link.
Does
that we sent
Commissioner
out.
Mojo have that link for the closed session?
Yep.
All right, so with that, I would entertain a motion to go into closed session regarding the pending litigation for Minnesota
Do
statute.
we want to take a short break by chance?
Yeah, we'll go into closed
Closed
session
session
and
and
we'll
take a
take
break?
the break. If that's, we'll just get that process done and then we'll go into closed session.
I'll offer that motion, Mr. Chair.
All right, we have a motion per statute as described in our agenda.
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Bear. And with Commissioner Mojo now online, actions we take, it's a roll call vote. So roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Mojo,
Yes.
Commissioner Krabenoff,
Aye.
Commissioner Campbell,
Yes.
Commissioner Bear, Commissioner Ebbinger.
All right, motion carries. We are now in closed session, and we'll get some time for Commissioner Mojo to change, and we'll take a quick break, and then we'll get started. All right, we are back in session. Our next item is our committee reports, and we're going to start this morning with Commissioner Mojo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have, just given the nature of the legislative session, I do have kind of an extended report, so I'll try to keep it brief. On February 25th, I attended the SWAC subcommittee meeting to discuss the Resource Recovery Center, ongoing discussions with the city of Moorhead, really hopeful that we can come to a solution that will benefit all of our residents in the most financially conservative way. February 26th through the 28th, I attended with all of you the AMC Legislative Conference in St. Paul. Grateful for the opportunity to have great discussions with all of our elected leaders and more at the Capitol, hear from agency and department heads, and also extend the continued network in advancing our bills at the legislature. I attended the Extension Committee meeting in which, after 5 years, I am no longer chair. Grateful for that opportunity as well. And then our Natural Resources Committee, talking about the bills of interest that affect that piece. On the 28th, I also attended the AMC Board of Directors meeting that was a really great recap of the conference. On the 29th, I attended the flood mitigation check-in meeting that we're having with the City of Moorhead and diversion representatives in regards to advancing that bill at the legislature, talking about coordination not only with them, but also the chamber. And then after that, had the weekly PRTF legislative coordinating meeting that we've been having ongoing. On March 3rd, I attended the MetroCog Executive Committee meeting, really just kind of buttoning up some of those additional change orders that North Dakota DOT and MnDOT have for that. On March 4th, traveled to the Twin Cities for the FMWF Chamber Moorhead Area Day at the Capitol. That morning, I virtually participated in the Highway Tracking Committee meeting that last week. Our board took action on those items and recommendations from Justin. Over the 4th and 5th, really felt we had vibrant conversations with all sorts of elected leaders in regards to items of mutual interest. We had a meeting with the governor and Senator Bobby Joe Champion, Senator Johnson, leaders in both caucuses there. We also had leaders in both the House, conversations with both the leaders on the House side, and also presentations from DEED and Minnesota Department of Ag. Really good conversations. Grateful for this board for allowing me to go to that. I really feel like we have increased the presence of the Capitol tenfold with that group. I believe we had over 38 folks from Fargo-Moorhead attend that. We are expanding the reach in those meetings and conversations that we're having here with them. So I appreciate all of our local folks for meeting with us. Representative Keeler, Representative Joy, Senator Kupek, Senator Johnson, Representative Gander, among others. And really the feedback that we had with our local priorities was really great. Everyone who's hearing about the PRTF issue and the non-secure issue, it's being met with great support. On March 6th, I attended the SWAC committee meeting that Commissioner Campbell reported on. That afternoon, I attended the MCC JPA meeting. Commissioner Campbell also reported on that. And then that evening, I attended the Clay County Township Annual Maintenance Review. Great attendance on that. We had so many folks from all of the different townships on that. I really appreciate their perspective and feedback. I think the way we've approached that with averages for costs is really helpful with that. It's allowed them to kind of see what the trends are and pay for it through those trends. So I appreciate that. March 7th, I also attended the ongoing flood mitigation check-in meeting, that PRTF coordinating piece. March 13th, last week was, I had a meeting with Ben Griffin of MetroCog to discuss an issue that will be coming before the executive committee in regards to HR performance reviews, and was able to check in with Steve on his testimony at the Senate here on the per diem rate bill that Senator Kupek is carrying. Yesterday, I attended with all of you the Clay County Township Officers meeting. Again, such a great opportunity to hear from local folks on some of the issues that they've got going on, and then see how we can work to collaborate, particularly on roads and land use issues. And then last night, I drove down to St. Paul at the Capitol this morning. I testified at the Health and Human Services Finance Committee in regards to Bill number 1380, which is our bill to address the per diem rate for the creation of a non-secure, or the PRTF. Then I was also asked to testify on behalf of House File 1911, which earmarks some funds to update the SSIS reporting and social services. We've talked about those, the green screen of death, the IT that needs to be upgraded so badly. So AMC did ask, since I was already down here, to testify on that bill. And as you all know, we're really lucky to have both House and Senate support in all of our bills right now. I'll be coming back down on Thursday. There is a hearing with our flood mitigation bill at the Capital Investment Committee, and waiting to hear on a Senate file, or when the Senate hearing would be on that. But both House and Senate have heard our per diem rate bill in committee, working on a hearing for our non-secure component. And then I do know that there are some hearings that are happening in regards to the water district. So overall, I don't mean to belabor you with all of this. I just know that we have had great support down here for the work. Grateful to my colleagues for allowing me to come down here. I apologize for being gone from so many meetings, but really am excited about the work that Clay County has done to advance issues for our residents at the Capitol. And Mr. Chair, that concludes my report.
Thank you, and before we move on, I just want to comment again. Commissioner Mojo is doing some really significant work on behalf of all of us being in St. Paul. And I know she likes to be here as often as she can for the dialogue that we have here. But we're under the state schedule, and it's when the state needs us there to have those discussions. And we're grateful that Commissioner Mojo was able to be there this morning to testify on those. And I know her cohort in those legislative activities is Commissioner Krabenoff, and between those two, I think we have a very good representation of our board that is at a moment's notice ready to go to St. Paul. So thank you again, Commissioner Mojo and Commissioner Krabenoff on that. And I don't know, Commissioner Mojo, how long you're going to be able to stay on, but we had our public hearing this morning on the tobacco. And I had made the suggestion that we would have discussion on that at our April 8th meeting. Just as we were leaving, Jason McCoy came up to me and said that he's going to be gone on that date. And so I think maybe what we could be looking at is April 15th as a date where we can have, and that I think that'll give Commissioner Mojo time to review today's testimony and activities that took place as well. We did have a large crowd here this morning.
That works for me. Thank you.
Okay, very good. So with that, then we'll move on to Commissioner Krabenoff. Would you like to go next, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I too have been gone a couple of weeks, different services involving legislature. So I will start back on the 25th also with the AMC conference. I know there's been lots of discussion. One thing that Commissioner Mojo brought up is the ongoing issues of the SSIS legislation. Again, Health and Human Services, that's a huge deal. And being part of that policy committee, that was talked about quite a bit. Or it is. And then along with the other priority would be along with the high acuity, which goes hand in hand with hopefully the ability to have a PRTF here in Moorhead. On March 3rd, I had the Moorhead Planning Committee. We continue each meeting to keep going through their zoning ordinances, uses, regulations, with a looking at updating those areas. One that was really talked about at that meeting was about the opening up on lots in lots that are over half an acre, and these are mostly in Oakport and Americana Estates, and it's just giving the ability for accessory buildings to be larger depending on the acreage. It's very practical, and I'm probably overdue, but I'm glad they're doing it. These are recommendations, so they do go on to the council, and I would expect they'll be approved. On March 4th and 5th, I too was along with Commissioner Mojo for the Morehead Area Day at the Capitol. She reported on that very well, but I was so impressed the viability and the engagement of that whole group, and with that, the viability and the encouragement from the legislators that we talked to, and a few of them varied on their positions a little bit, especially when it came to the pushback on the paid family and medical leave. Yet we heard from the governor and some of the legislators. They're ultimately open to at least looking at some changes in that legislation, and then certainly the shifts on some of the social services regard to what was in the governor's budget. On March 6th, I had the Clay County Intergovernmental meeting or committee, and at that meeting, I was unable to be at that retreat on January 1st, but we did a recap of everything. Steve had a PowerPoint that we reviewed. If it hadn't been talked about before, I'll just add one thing on that, and that was that in that meeting or that retreat, 13 organizations were represented, and we had, along with guest speakers and legislators, our total was 67. So that was a good group. We talked about future topics, and one of the ones that came up, and there were two superintendents at the meeting, but it was about truancy and how that affects workforce and all the above. So our next meeting's in May, and we'll continue that discussion. On March 11th through the 13th, at the invite of two of the nonprofits in the human service world that I'm part of, that being Community Action Partners, Larson Prairie, and then also acting as a liaison with our Clay County HRA. I was invited to go with CAP-LP to Washington, D.C. I was part of their national convention. The speakers were top-notch. A lot of information came from the national lobbyist for Community Action Partners. His name is David Bradley. Talked about so many of the things with years of background of certain people, how we need to talk to them. Certainly, the parties have differences on some of these ideas, but the main concern at this point with DOGE and in these departments, about half the staff has been cut nationally, and that's one issue. But then the bigger issue, I think, the concern about that is delivery of the money, and when it comes. But again, at this point, nothing has changed. But the bigger picture was, what are the grants going to be looking like in the coming year? And with the continuing resolution that passed, actually before I left there, the funding for both the HRA and CAP-LP for this year is going to be in okay shape. So I don't see any big disruptions, subject to change, of course. And then the other thing, they were trying to make sure that our congressional people knew was that our community service block grants are really important, and hopefully they don't see any cuts, and having the congressional people understand that's the money that comes to us, that gives the locals some flexibility to leverage local priorities, so they're important to us. So met Senators Klobuchar and Smith twice, and then Representative Fishbach, along with other key leaders in their areas of human services. On March 17th, I was at the Clay County Township Officers meeting yesterday at the LAC. Thank you, Jackie, for pulling things together and leading the charge. And I also want to thank all those that spoke for staff to give updated information to township officers, including the Highway Department, GIS assessors, and planning and zoning. May have been others, but sheriff. Oh yeah, can't forget the sheriff. So anyway, that is what I had, and that concludes my report.
Thank you. Commissioner Bear.
On March 12th, March 12th, we had a Northwest Emergency Communications Board meeting up in Thief River Falls. I'm going to let Commissioner Ebbinger speak on that matter. That was the first one I've been at. A lot of that went over my head. So I picked up some of it, but a lot of it went over my head. I'll let Commissioner Ebbinger speak on that. And then on March 13th, we had a meeting with the SWCD, where they are fully staffed right now. They just hired a new employee. And we had a lot of discussion about, like what these all do, where the funds are going to be coming from in the future with the feds in the state and the predicaments they are in. They also approved 4 field windbreaks and 1 farmstead windbreak. And we talked about riparian aid dollars, where we spent a little bit of that for the rural water. That's all we discussed there. And then on March 17th, we had the Clay County Association of Townships meeting. We're at the Government Center, and I just want to say thanks to the staff that was all there, and Jackie, very good job that helped put that on. So that is all my reports.
All right. Commissioner Ebbinger.
Hey, thank you. On the 11th, I had a meeting with Jason McCoy, and Rory Beal just referenced the public meeting we had today and discussed how we were going to approach that and what they had done. Wednesday the 12th, Commissioner Bear and I were at the Northwest Emergency Communication Board meeting in Thief River Falls. Just a couple of items here to jump on. I know it's a little overwhelming because this is a joint meeting between the board members who are elected officials and the RAC members who are technicians. There's a lot of radio speak there that's kind of hard to keep up with. We addressed an issue that affected Clay County and Moorhead Police Department's radio systems. It's an issue where this channel itself is overwhelmed. It's called a busy, and we'd had a number of those over the last couple of months. The bottom line is both the Sheriff's Department and Moorhead Police are going to encryption. And for a couple of days there, when somebody keyed the mic, it took twice the power or the ability we have to transmit until they got the encryption process done. So that worked out, and it's back to normal again. Were some complaints about turn back funds on grant funding. Just a cautionary tale to spend the grant funding, because if it's turned back, there's a very slow turnaround if you're going to try and refile and get the money back. I think the big issue of the day, there is a $7 million grant opportunity that's going to RFP by the end of April, I believe, for any county that wants to engage in, or any district that wants to engage in getting a school mapping project that's up. The state wants to map using GPS positioning every K through 12 school in the state. It seems like $7 million is going to be a little low, but they seem to think that they can get somebody to take the bid. It's statewide, but they need to know every school district that's going to be interested in engaging in this. So before I even got a chance to make a phone call to try and get the ball rolling, Chad Stranglin with the Moorhead Fire, who's their emergency director, Gabe Tweeten and Derek Swenson with the police department have all gotten together, and the ball's rolling on this to get with the school districts in the county and make sure all of them will commit in getting the information back to the Northwest Emergency Communication people so that we can put together for our entire district what schools are in and what schools aren't interested. I would be very surprised if there were schools that weren't interested in this. This gives you the ability to use GPS positioning on your phone to identify exactly where a crisis is. If you've got a school and they say we're in classroom 12, all that information is available to the dispatcher. They can tell responding emergency personnel what door to go in and what steps to take to get to the place where the problems are. Just a great system if we can get it to work. I do want a cautionary tale on this. There will probably be a secondary local cost for us to get this loaded onto the computer systems of the dispatch center. But it'll be well worth anything that we need to come up on that. So we'll keep you apprised of that as it develops. We're going to have a joint meeting on April 9th to try and coordinate all the responses we've had from the various counties and get a report into the state so that we can get in line for the grant funding. Thursday, the 13th, I attended Beyond the Yellow Ribbon. Not a whole lot of new business. Veterans Resource Outreach at MSUM is now fully staffed. They're doing a lot of good things out there. It's the director there, Joshua Clark, is really on top of things. And it's surprising the number of veterans we have in college, number of National Guard people we have in college. It's a great resource for them. In my report, I mentioned Jason Benson, who's a brigadier general in the Minnesota National Guard, is now the executive director of the Diversion Authority. And those that know him there were very complimentary on his skills, and we're lucky to have him. On the 14th, I attended a beam signing for the Lake Agassiz Regional Library. I'm this year's president, so we went down. We had a photo op. We signed the beam for the new community center and library, and it's going to be exciting to get that project done. Looking forward to having the new facility. On Monday the 17th, I attended the township officer meeting, which has already been reported on. I want to join right in. Jackie emceed it for us and did a wonderful job. I had to duck out a little early, but I saw most of our staff's presentations there, and I saw Sheriff Empting, Justin from Highway, Matt from Planning, and Jill Murray. They all did a great job. I don't know who else reported afterwards, but as always, they let our township people know what a good, credible staff we have here. Later that day, I went to Detroit Lakes for the quarterly meeting with the Dancing Sky Board of Directors. A whole lot of this was just an orientation for new board members. We did have some, Dave Myers from Becker County is now the second vice president, and Teresa Gilley from Kitson County is now our president for this next upcoming year. Had a little discussion about some real unknown areas right now in funding and in grants. We're not sure what federal funding is going to be coming in. A whole lot of what they do with the area agencies on aging revolves around federal funds that are channeled through the state. So as it is with all of us, we're kind of looking at some unknowns in the future. And that completes my report.
Thank you. On March 11th, I attended the Insurance Committee, and the items of discussion that day, we concentrated on the medical loss ratio, which ultimately is really involved with what we end up having to have for potential changes in our premiums the next year. Right now, it's too early within our process to determine if self-funding versus staying in a group right now is the appropriate thing. Our consultants seem to think that we're in line to potentially have a very competitive bid process, which then might be more attractive than moving to self-insurance at this time. So that was a significant portion of the conversation. More to come on that later. Then there was a question brought up regarding the action that was taken for the elected official insurance. So we had a little conversation and dialogue about that. And I think when we explained that whole process to them, they seemed to be satisfied. They were a little bit, some of them didn't realize that we did have a subcommittee group that consists of our two commissioners as well as our personal issue, or our human resources, as well as our county administrator and assistant county administrator. And those things are primarily where we deal with things that are probably more administrative in nature than anything else. But I think, afterwards I had some of those people come up saying thanks for that process that we went through, and they understood the reasoning behind that option for elected people. Then because we do have quite a bit differences between elected people versus full-time individuals. Then on the April 12th, we did have the Diversion Authority Planning Committee meeting. We did receive an update from Jason Benson regarding the FEMA update, or actually I think that was done by Chris Bachigard, I think. But anyway, what we've learned is that there's two types of processes that FEMA can go through. One is referred to as the LOMAR, which is a letter of map revision, and the other one is a physical map revision. And we have been told that FEMA intends to do a physical map revision for this project as opposed to the LOMAR option that's out there. And my question on that was, okay, so if you're going to do a physical map revision, what are the boundaries that are part of that? And the best response I got at that time is that is still to be determined in the whole process. So certainly everything within the protected area will be part of that, but my concern was that to make sure that it might go that should go all the way to Georgetown. That should all be part of that. Then we did. We got some update from Jason Benson regarding what he believes the future direction should be in the next land director position. And I think he's right on the money, and I think it's going to kind of lead to more of a lands and compliance director. Currently, the lands position that we have now has been solely focused on land acquisition. Now that we're going to hopefully be transitioning from that, it would be more important to incorporate the compliance component of that so that we meet the obligations that we have to all of the landowners, and so that I think that's a really good thing on the part of Jason to be moving in that direction. On March 13th, I attended the Lakes Country Service Co-op meeting. And that one, there's several items on there. There was a lot of recap regarding legislation that's going on that impacts school districts. There's some neat components that they're working on that at this point in time I don't have enough information to share with you, but there could be some potential out-of-country people coming here to learn some of our education processes, and I won't get any more than that at this point in time until, and I think the plan is to work with MSUM on that process, and so more will come on that, but it certainly sounds to be an interesting opportunity. On, excuse me, on March 14th, I attended the Prairie Lakes meeting. And at that meeting, we had several things on the agenda, the plant manager report, the monthly performance. Clay County is on the right side of our deliveries now for the first time in a long time, close to 200 tons more than what our contract shows. We continue to have conversations regarding ash. There's a grant application that Ottertail County is doing that could help with the ash landfill process and needs. But part of that grant application, it's a grant that would be 70% funded through MPCA, and the other 30% would need to be local. And what Ottertail County was asking from the Prairie Lakes group was that we would agree to cover that 30% over a number of years. I think that 30% number that they're talking about now is probably, I think they talked maybe around $300,000. And within the Prairie Lakes budget, there's a line item that deals with the administration of the ash landfill. And so currently in our budget, that number is $325,000 a year. It was just raised from 300 to 325. And so it's anticipated that line item within the budget would shift up. But what Ottertail, because the grant application was due, they wanted a consensus of the board that we would do that. And so we gave that, that information to Ottertail County that we would support that 30% payable over a number of years. And so obviously that will impact future budgets, but we don't know, maybe there are other things that might be minimized that could help offset that. So, and then their new commissioner, Commissioner Hansen, Phil Hansen, had a lot of good questions. He's in that learning process, and he did want to remind all member counties that Becker County does have a mattress recycling facility, and I think through our SWAC we can just inform Corey, which I'm sure he already knows, and to what degree that might be an option for us. And there's a bid opening on the Casa Road in Ottertail County that is going to be partially using that ash as that pilot program, and I believe that bid opening is coming up very shortly. That concludes that, and I just want to comment. I would have liked to have been at the annual township officers meeting yesterday, but I did have prior commitments that I had to be at, so I could not attend that meeting. But I understand that Jackie was the hit of the day, and that she made sure that everything was fantastic, which it reminds me of the time when her mother came and was a presenter at our retreat. And maybe you're taking right after your mother in that regard. So With that, we'll go right to you. Do you have any updates you want to give us?
Just that, what was mentioned already, attending the Spring Township Officers Meeting yesterday and had the pleasure to highlight some great things happening in Clay County. Since our County Administrator Steve Larson and Assistant County Administrator Darren Brook were out. So I appreciate that opportunity to highlight that and help MC the county portion. And yeah, it was a great meeting.
Very good. Darren, you're online still.
I am online. Thank you.
Yes, well,
I know
thank
this
you
has been
for being part of this.
Oh, I wouldn't miss this.
Oh, yeah, right.
I know it's been a very long week, morning, and so I'm going to go through mine very quickly. So on the 11th, I also was in the insurance committee, and Commissioner Campbell covered that very well. I'm interested to see what our rates are going to be, but it's sounding like it could be pretty good since we're going out for RFP next year. Also on the 11th, I had discussions with Anna, referenced some personnel issues. On the 12th, we had a manager's meeting. We talked a lot about the bills that are going through legislation right now and some of the costs that may be coming down. Also prepped for my testimony that day, which was a first for me on that Wednesday, the 13th. I think that might have been the Thursday. Gave my first testimony on the paid leave act law, so that was exciting. Also, we had a meeting with, or I had a meeting with Kimberly about some ideas for her a reorganizational change and some things to look at there to make it a little bit more easier for citizens to submit things. Also on the 13th, I had a meeting with Mark and Brian, and we're part of our process for going through the county code. On the 14th, I had a meeting with Steve and Anna to talk about some personnel changes. And also that day, I had a MACA weekly update, which kind of goes over all the legislative items that are going on right now. Always very informative at that. And then on the 17th, I started my vacation. And right after this, I'm going to continue my vacation. So, and that's all I have.
Okay, so you don't want to partake in the PIC meeting after this, then?
Now I'm gonna let Anna handle
All
that.
right. Okay. Well, thank you for taking time out of your vacation to be part of this, and it's appreciated. And as we all know, that vacation time is a good thing. So, all right.
Sure,
With
thank
that,
you.
Brian, do you have anything more to add? All right. That concludes everybody's. With that, we will be adjourned.